Otis Geoffrey, who used to be a school bully in my eyes, is now a bully in Otis Geoffrey's eyes. Broke up with Otis Geoffrey for 4 years. 4 years later, I deliberately drove a luxury car to Otis Geoffrey to show off my wealth, and Otis Geoffrey stopped me and asked, "Kathy Lou, can you lend me $700,000? With me, I'll give you $700,000. Okay." Later, I looked at Otis Geoffrey's clothes hanging in the closet, and on the bed were Otis Geoffrey's newly bought sheets. Fall into deep contemplation. The strong smell of disinfectant water in the hospital made me uncomfortable. Passing through the hallway, I saw a man in a fire brigade uniform, leaning against the wall of the hallway, his face tired and his eyes bruised. He was wearing a mask, but he still couldn't hide his handsomeness, with a pair of peach blossom eyes. Seductive. It's very familiar. It's Otis Geoffrey. I couldn't help but walk over and tentatively shout, "Otis Geoffrey." Otis Geoffrey ignored me and walked away. I immediately chased after him, grabbed his wrist tightly, and ripped off his mask with the other hand. "Otis Geoffrey, don't you remember me?" It's ridiculous to say that at that time, Otis Geoffrey was the school's bully, and no one dared to mess with him. In my junior year of high school, he was my boyfriend for a year, and bullied me for a whole year. My mom was over there urging me to go. I hurriedly pulled up the WeChat code on my mobile phone, and said to Otis Geoffrey anxiously, "Scan my WeChat." Otis Geoffrey looked at me coldly. He didn't move. Obviously, he didn't want to sweep me. I stared at me with round eyes, like a bully. "If you don't sweep, I'll go look for you, in your team." Otis Geoffrey hesitated for a moment, then took out his phone and scanned it. In the car, I took out my phone, and sent a message to Otis Geoffrey. "Otis Geoffrey, you really don't remember me. My name is Kathy Lou. Kathy Lou in the 3rd and 4th class of high school. Your ex-girlfriend." I waited a day and Otis Geoffrey didn't hear back from me. I suspected that Otis Geoffrey deleted my WeChat, so I sent an emoji to Otis Geoffrey's WeChat. The sending was successful. I didn't delete it. He just didn't want to pay attention to me, and I was depressed. Otis Geoffrey sent a message, "Kathy Lou, can you lend me $700,000? Swindle. So many people who came up to cheat. I look so much like a big fool. How can he cheat as soon as he comes up? He will go through a process." I asked my girlfriend about Otis Geoffrey. "Rosalind, have you heard anything about Otis Geoffrey lately?" "Yes, I heard that he is quite miserable, and he has been borrowing money everywhere recently." "What are you borrowing money for?" Rosalind said that Otis Geoffrey's father was sick and needed a kidney replacement, and the kidney replacement surgery alone cost 700,000 yuan, not counting other expenses. Otis Geoffrey's family conditions are not good. His mother died very early. His father is an ordinary worker. Otis Geoffrey sold the house early, and the old house is not worth a few dollars. 700,000 is a huge amount of money for him. I was surprised that it turned out that Otis Geoffrey didn't lie to me. He really needed money. Grabbing my bag, I got up and left the cafe, adding Otis Geoffrey's WeChat message as I went. Half an hour later, WeChat passed, and I dialed the voice, "Otis Geoffrey." Otis Geoffrey's voice was a little tired. "Aren't you going to borrow 700,000? I'll give it to you," I said to Otis Geoffrey. "Why did you change your mind? I'll give you 700,000, and you're with me. I don't care if I'm in danger. I don't care. I want to be with Otis Geoffrey." There was silence for a long time. "Kathy Lou, isn't it enough to play me once? I'm not worth the price." Otis Geoffrey smirked sarcastically. With that, he hung up the call. He said I played with him. I didn't understand. Laughing to death. Obviously my life is worse than death. I have been bullied by him, forcing me to do his homework, forcing me to help him bring breakfast. In turn, he said that I played with him. Otis Geoffrey deleted me. After thinking about it, I gave Rosalind 700,000 yuan, and asked Rosalind to lend it to Otis Geoffrey in her name, and there was no limit to the repayment time. and I didn't dare to do nonsense about life-saving things. Otis Geoffrey blocked me at the door of the apartment. He was still wearing a fire brigade uniform, looking dusty, and the bruises under his eyes were heavier, as if he hadn't slept for a long time. Rosalind's 700,000 yuan. You asked her to lend it to me, he asked, pinching my chin. It's not. I quickly denied it. My jaw hurt. Kathy Lou, I really need that money. My dad has surgery next week. I'm with you. I took out my phone and transferred money to Otis Geoffrey. Our family has money, and 700,000 yuan is nothing to me. After the transfer, my mind twitched. Move in with me. He said yes. The next night, I came back from the studio. Otis Geoffrey was waiting for me at the door with his suitcase. I pulled his finger and lost my fingerprint. Entered the door with Otis Geoffrey. After taking a shower, I had just laid down and Otis Geoffrey lay down beside me. He was so close to me that the air became tense, and my heart was beating fast. And suddenly, my waist tightened, and I was scooped into the arms of Otis Geoffrey. He has strong muscles and feels good to the touch. His face is also very good looking. When he was in high school, many girls in our school had a crush on him, including me. Everyone was afraid that he was a school bully and did not dare to confess. I was the only one who died, running to provoke him and forcing him to be my boyfriend. Otis Geoffrey, can I kiss you? I asked him. Otis Geoffrey didn't say anything with a shallow smile on his lips. He said very little. What are you laughing at? I'm going to kiss you. I spent 700,000 yuan to pack him. Of course I have to kiss him, otherwise it will be too much of a loss. Closing my eyes, I kissed Otis Geoffrey's lips, which were soft, much jelly-like, and just as I expected, they tasted good. I was kissing. Otis Geoffrey breathed heavily, grabbed my waist, and turned against the guest, with unbridled aggression. From that day on, Otis Geoffrey and I officially started living together. It feels good. He doesn't talk much, but he can do everything. Laundry and cooking and housework are all done. The team has trained him very well, thanks to the country. 2 months together, a little happiness. When I'm free from work, I tease Otis Geoffrey with a message. Otis Geoffrey, miss me? HMM. What do you mean? I continued to tease him. Yes, who thinks whom? I miss you. Good girl. The night rewards you. Attach a few emoticons. I'm not working overtime today. I couldn't help but laugh out loud as I watched the news, imagining what Otis Geoffrey's innocent face would be like to me. In the evening, I had dinner with Rosalind, and I asked Otis Geoffrey not to wait for me. After eating, it was already 10 o'clock. Otis Geoffrey called. I'm 500 meters ahead of you. White car. I looked up and saw Otis Geoffrey waving to me, and I panicked, afraid that Rosalind would know that I was with Otis Geoffrey. Spend 700,000 yuan to support him, and if it spreads, others will scold me for taking advantage of others, and it will not be good for Otis Geoffrey's reputation. Didn't you say that you shouldn't come to pick me up? It's not good to be seen. You go back first. I called a substitute driver. Otis Geoffrey didn't speak, hung up the phone, and drove away. When I got home, I turned on the lights and Otis Geoffrey sat on the couch and smoked. The smoke spread around Otis Geoffrey, thick and choking. Otis Geoffrey, Kathy Lou, I can't see the light. Can I? Otis Geoffrey's voice was hoarse, and he looked up at me, with some pain in his eyes that I couldn't understand. For a moment, I thought he liked me. He didn't like me. He was with me in high school, and he was forced by me. This time he was with me, because of his father's medical expenses, or because he was forced by me. He has a favorite of someone, his White Moonlight Maj Funk. I like Otis Geoffrey, and I haven't forgotten him for 4 years. Don't say that. Our relationship is not good. It's not that he can't see the light. Otis Geoffrey and I shared a lot of classmates. I don't care what other people think. I'm afraid they'll look down on Otis Geoffrey if they know he's with me, because of the money. Otis Geoffrey took a few puffs of his cigarette, pressed it to the ashtray, and got up to leave. I'll pay attention later. What he meant was that I would pay attention later and not let others know. Listening to the sound of the door closing, my heart was clogged. It exploded and hurt, and my brain began to mess up. I covered my heart, bent over and poured the medicine into my mouth, and swallowed it along with the water. Rosalind called, and I gasped for air. Kathy Lou, are you sick again? No, I'm cured. I'm coming to see you. Don't come here. I refused. Rosalind lay on the couch and slept groggily all night. Early in the morning, I heard the sound of the door lock turning and hurriedly got up and went to the door. It was Otis Geoffrey, still in his uniform, with breakfast in his hand. Otis Geoffrey, I screamed. Otis Geoffrey was surprised to see me. I like to sleep in and don't get up until noon. He used to coax me into breakfast and then let me go back to sleep. Otis Geoffrey looked at me, reached out and pinched my calf, helping me put on my slippers. I wasn't good yesterday. I shouldn't have talked to you like that, and I won't be like that in the future. I put my arms around Otis Geoffrey's neck and offered to apologize. I like him so much. I really like him. For 4 years, he likes to torment me day and night, just like my illness. Otis Geoffrey pinched my waist. Breakfast. He didn't get angry, and I got carried away. Where did you go last night? You don't come home at night, fight fires, work overtime. Otis Geoffrey doesn't talk much, but it can be an explanation. I'm in a much better mood. At least, he didn't deliberately stay up late because of a quarrel. I'll say I won't come back later. I knocked on the table. Otis Geoffrey nodded and fed me the peeled eggs. After eating, Otis Geoffrey took a shower, pressed me to the bed, kissed me like crazy, and did it with me like crazy. I think Otis Geoffrey should like me a little, even in bed. He liked me a little bit, and enough was enough. I no longer deliberately hide my relationship with Otis Geoffrey, and it was Rosalind who first knew that I was back together with Otis Geoffrey. She was surprised that after 4 years, I would still be with Otis Geoffrey. It was ridiculous. It's been 4 years, and you still like him. 40 years later, I still like him. I said it seriously. In my junior year of high school, when I transferred to a new school, as a transfer student, they looked at me unpleasantly, bullied me, threw away my study materials, deliberately opened my aunt's towel, poured red ink, and humiliated me and bullied me in all kinds of ways. They even pulled me to the toilet and pulled my hair. That time, they blocked me at the school gate, and I saw the school bully Otis Geoffrey, like a lifesaver, hugging his waist and saying that he was my boyfriend. He doesn't deny it. Later, Otis Geoffrey moved his seat next to me, and no one dared to bully me anymore, because Otis Geoffrey is my boyfriend. If it weren't for Otis Geoffrey, I wouldn't have finished that senior year. Rosalind walked up to me, and hesitated for a moment. Does Otis Geoffrey know about your illness? He doesn't need to know that I'm cured, I say. Rosalind took my hand. Kathy Lou, Otis Geoffrey is with you, because you gave his dad $700,000, and he doesn't like you. I know, it doesn't matter. It was I who forced Otis Geoffrey to stay with me, and of course I knew that he didn't like me, and that he was good with me, because of the $700,000. The doctor said that your current situation is not suitable for a relationship. I sat there in silence. Rosalind's worries were completely unnecessary. Otis Geoffrey and I wouldn't be together for long. Without loving feelings, we wouldn't be able to get very far. He could leave me at any moment. So, I cherish my time with Otis Geoffrey even more. Rosalind told me about the class reunion, and the class president wanted me to go. I asked Otis Geoffrey if he was going to the class reunion. He said that if the unit gets off work early, he will pass. I knew Otis Geoffrey would definitely go because Madge Funk was there, his white moonlight. I thought about it for a long time, but I went home and changed into nice clothes, put on delicate makeup, and went with Rosalind. Otis Geoffrey is my boyfriend, and I won't give him a chance to strike eye with Madge Funk, until I break up with him. A lot of people came to the class reunion. Madge Funk was surprised to see me. In their eyes, I was a transfer student, not in the 3rd or 4th class of high school. Kathy Lou, why are you here? Class reunion. Can't I come? I asked with a smile. Absolutely. Madge Funk's smile froze on his face. The class president came over to greet Rosalind and me and introduce the classmates to Rosalind's studio. Hearing that we are running a tourism media and connecting with many tourist attractions and companies, the students are noisily asking us if we have any discounts. Rosalind is a typical social cow, saying that his classmates will have discounts, provided that I, the boss, agree. A group of classmates surrounded me again, asking about the strategy of travel. I patiently answered, and the atmosphere was better than I expected, until Madge Funk came to me for a toast, and a whole glass of red wine was spilled on my skirt, staining from the chest to the hem of my skirt. Madge Funk covered his mouth, his eyes full of innocence and helplessness. Ah, Kathy Lou, I was so careless. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I watched Madge Funk silently. She did it on purpose. Let's lose money. I bought my skirt for more than 20,000 yuan, and I basically scrapped it after pouring red wine, I said to Madge Funk. Madge Funk was obviously surprised that I didn't expect me to lose her money. She had red eyes and looked aggrieved and pitiful. Kathy Lou, I didn't mean to. I apologize. Your apology is really expensive. Worth more than 20,000. Rosalind laughed at her. Madge Funk didn't speak, biting his lip even more aggrieved. I looked at her coldly, and I knew that she had deliberately spilled my red wine, and she didn't want to lose money. No compensation. As I spoke, I took the red wine on the table and poured it at Madge Funk, in the same place as me, from the chest to the skirt. Madge Funk's tears fell instantly. She was so aggrieved. The classmates who had been watching the excitement began to accuse me indignantly one by one. Kathy Lou, you've gone too far. Madge Funk apologizes. And you splash her? Yes, so rich. A dress is nothing to you. We have a few months' salary. What a bully. Rich but not virtuous. I listened to the accusations, as if I was back in my senior year of high school. That year, I was bullied on campus, and that started with Madge Funk. She said I couldn't get used to seeing my tall look, and I couldn't get used to seeing the way I looked at Otis Geoffrey. She poured milk tea on the competition work I was going to hand in, pretended to be innocent, and apologized to me. I asked her to pay for it. She cried aggrievedly, and a group of classmates started to help her. They isolated me. They bullied me. They are unreasonable and have no bottom line. Rosalind was arguing with them. I listened to the noise. My mind became more and more confused. My chest was tight, and I had some difficulty breathing. What are you doing? A cold male voice came. Otis Geoffrey came, and I knew it was him just by listening to the voice. With Madge Funk in place, Otis Geoffrey will definitely come. Sure enough, Madge Funk saw Otis Geoffrey as if he had seen a savior, with red eyes and aggrieved, walking towards Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey. She softly called Otis Geoffrey's name. I held back my drowsy brain and didn't look at Otis Geoffrey, my nails digging into the flesh. Otis Geoffrey walked around the Madge Funk and walked over to me, his eyes falling on my skirt, quickly taking off his coat and draping it over me. What's wrong? He asked me. I pursed my lips and said directly. Madge Funk poured red wine on my skirt. I asked her to pay for it. She didn't pay. I splashed it back. Having said that, I don't look at Otis Geoffrey. I think he'll feel sorry for Madge Funk and say I'm being unreasonable, and think I'm making a big fuss. Madge Funk whispered aggrievedly. Otis Geoffrey, I didn't mean to stain Kathy Lou's dress. I apologized to her. She also deliberately splashed me, and my classmates can testify. Yes, Kathy Lou went too far, and bullied Madge Funk so much. Someone chimed in. Otis Geoffrey didn't speak, but pulled out a wad of bills from his wallet and placed them in front of Madge Funk. Madge Funk. She stained your dress money, Otis Geoffrey said. I listened to Otis Geoffrey's voice, and my heart hurt. He still felt sorry for Madge Funk, believed Madge Funk's words, and didn't believe me. Madge Funk looked a little more smug in his eyes, presumably showing off to me about Otis Geoffrey's preference for her. Suddenly, Otis Geoffrey took my phone, dialed up to the payment code, and handed it to Madge Funk. You pay for soiling her dress. Pay her, Otis Geoffrey. Madge Funk looked at Otis Geoffrey in shock. Even I was taken aback. I didn't expect Otis Geoffrey to favor me. Lose money. Hurry, Otis Geoffrey urged impatiently. Madge Funk stunned Otis Geoffrey, reluctantly holding his phone and scanning the code to lose money. Otis Geoffrey saw the money arrive, shoved the phone back into my bag, and dragged me away. Madge Funk was angry and annoyed. Rosalind smugly said to Madge Funk, Madge Funk, don't look at it. Otis Geoffrey is Kathy Lou's man. Be careful to look into the eye and pull it out. Otis Geoffrey took me away from the class reunion. Along the way, Rosalind was complimenting Otis Geoffrey on the way he maintained me, how handsome and gentlemanly he was. I'm in a particularly good mood. Otis Geoffrey maintains me, not Madge Funk. When I got home, I kept smirking at Otis Geoffrey, who helped me change my dirty clothes, dragged me to the shower, and helped me dry my hair. I really like Otis Geoffrey. He favored me a little bit, and I felt that it was a beautiful thing to be alive, and I wanted to live. I put my arms around Otis Geoffrey's neck and kissed him, and he responded to me, Otis Geoffrey. Hey, do you like me? I touched the face of the man in front of me, and when the words came to my mouth, I couldn't say a word. It's ridiculous that I knew Otis Geoffrey was with me, because of his dad's life-saving money. I also hope that he will like me. It's silly. There shouldn't be that kind of thinking at all. At first, I simply wanted him to be with me, but now, I actually expect him to like me. I'm so dissatisfied. I want to kiss you. I closed my eyes and kissed Otis Geoffrey again, trying to remember his taste. One day he leaves me, I can take him as a good memory. In the face of my enthusiasm, Otis Geoffrey lost control, clasped me around my waist, and forced me to get close to him. Good, he coaxed me. Listening to Otis Geoffrey's voice, my heart was shaking, as if I was out of control. In the middle of the night, I lost sleep, sat in bed, stared at the sleeping Otis Geoffrey, and my mind was dizzy. Rosalind was right that my situation was not suitable for feelings. I was scared, afraid of losing Otis Geoffrey. I uncontrollably dug out the leash from the cabinet to prevent getting lost. One end was buckled on Otis Geoffrey's wrist, and the other was buckled on mine. I looked at the connected places and shivered, and I knew I wasn't doing the right thing, but I couldn't control myself. I couldn't stay up, so I cowered next to Otis Geoffrey and fell asleep. Kathy Lou, wake up. I heard Otis Geoffrey call my name, and he slapped his hand on my face. When I opened my eyes, I saw a special anti-loss leash on Otis Geoffrey's hand and my hand. With a thud in my head, I remembered what crazy thing I had done last night. Otis Geoffrey, listen to me. Last night, I had red eyes and was about to cry, holding Otis Geoffrey's hand. I don't know how to explain it to Otis Geoffrey. I'm afraid that he thinks I'm crazy. I'm afraid that he thinks I'm sick and wants to leave me. It's so noisy that you go to sleep, don't you? This knot is a bit complicated. I can't untie it. You can untie it. Otis Geoffrey has a soft voice. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I looked at him cautiously, and reached for a quick knot on the leash. Then, hold it in your hand. I didn't dare to look at him, and waited for him to question me. Otis Geoffrey didn't ask me a word, got up and made a simple breakfast for me to eat. I looked at my favorite little wonton in front of me and had no appetite. He didn't ask me, and I felt like a man waiting to be executed, anxious and uncomfortable. I'm almost late. You finish eating and put your things in the kitchen, and wait for me to come back and clean up, Otis Geoffrey instructed me. I stopped Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey, I'm leaving. Be nice. Otis Geoffrey kissed me on the forehead. From beginning to end, there was no such thing as lifting the leash. He didn't ask me, and I couldn't just confess to him. Rosalind frowned and sat across from me. Otherwise, if you tell him the truth, he probably doesn't care. I think Otis Geoffrey is a good guy, Rosalind said. I quickly shook my head. If he doesn't ask, I won't tell. People are selfish, and so am I, thinking that living like this is a day. Let me take the initiative to confess my illness to Otis Geoffrey. I can't do it. He will leave me. Kathy Lou, heaven is so unfair. So unfair. I have to torture you to death. Rosalind hugged and cried. I shouldn't have let you go home. I smiled. Don't cry. If you don't let me come back, I'll come back. I miss him so much. Why don't you come back to see him? Not a day went by in those 4 years when I didn't miss Otis Geoffrey. Rosalind doesn't tell me to go back. I will. After work in the afternoon, Otis Geoffrey messaged me and asked me to pick him up from work. He didn't drive. I pinched the time to go. At the door of the fire brigade, Otis Geoffrey had just returned from training. I was afraid that his teammates would see me and affect him, so I was about to hide. Otis Geoffrey shouted, Kathy Lou. I turned my head, and Otis Geoffrey strode over. A group of teammates behind Otis Geoffrey shouted at the top of their voices, Hello sister-in-law. In front of the public, I was called sister-in-law by a group of soldiers, and I couldn't help but blush, and out of politeness, I smiled and waved to them. They laughed. I don't know what they laugh at. Someone who had the audacity to tease at Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey, don't you want to introduce us to my sister-in-law? I was nervous in the face of his colleague, and reached out to take Otis Geoffrey's hand. A little confused, Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey squeezed my hand, soothed me, and shouted at his teammates, if you fight again, add another 5 kilometers. Otis Geoffrey, we were wrong. A group of soldiers' brothers laughed and returned to the brigade. I looked at Otis Geoffrey, and thought he was so handsome. A man trained by the state, full of hormones. Otis Geoffrey asked me to wait for him in the car. After finishing the work, Otis Geoffrey came out and drove me to dinner. The place to eat is a niche restaurant, and it is quiet. After dinner, Otis Geoffrey took me shopping, without mentioning the fact that I had tied him with a leash last night. And the more he did this, the more uneasy I became. To a jewelry store, Otis Geoffrey took me by the hand and went in. I looked at Otis Geoffrey in bewilderment. Otis Geoffrey had a small diamond ring come out and give it to me. He has a good eye. The diamond ring is not big, and when he wears it on my hand, it looks very delicate and beautiful. Is it pretty? It's pretty. That's it. Otis Geoffrey nodded in satisfaction, took out his phone and paid. When I got home, I sat on the bed and looked at the ring on my hand, and I was very happy. The first gift he gave me, a ring, meant a lot. Otis Geoffrey came over and sat down next to me. I snuggled up to Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey, I love the ring you gave me. Otis Geoffrey suddenly held my face seriously. I don't have that much money. Give you a small one, and when I give you a bonus at the end of the year, I will give you a big one. Don't dislike it. I don't dislike it. This is very good. I like it very much. I like it very much, I said with red eyes. And Otis Geoffrey, I like him and don't care about the size of the diamond ring. I can buy a big diamond ring myself, and he gives it, no matter how much it is. I like it. Otis Geoffrey reached out and pinched my face, his eyes full of pampering. I kissed Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey put his arms around me, breathing heavily. I think he gave me the ring because he liked me a little. For the sake of Otis Geoffrey, I am willing to actively undergo treatment. I went to the hospital for a follow-up. The attending doctor, Henry, couldn't help but frown as he looked at my test results. He was a good friend of my brother, and he was abroad before, and he was the one who gave me treatment. Recently, he returned to China for development and happened to be my attending doctor again. Henry knows my condition best. Kathy Lou, The test you did before returning home was very good in all aspects. Why is it suddenly serious again? Henry asked. I pursed my lips. Henry, I'm in love. The condition recurred, probably caused by emotional problems. I love Otis Geoffrey so much that I have had a lot of gains and losses with him. So I was emotionally unstable and my condition worsened. Kathy Lou, are you crazy? I'm not telling you that your situation is not suitable for relationship problems. You have bipolar disorder, and it looks better. Why don't you listen to the doctor? Henry was a little excited. Kathy Lou, break up with him. Henry made a direct decision. I was calm. No, I'm going to die. I'm not a love brain. Bipolar disorder. Suicide rate is twice as high as depression. I had this disease 4 years ago, until I committed suicide for the first time, which frightened my parents. They sent me abroad for treatment overnight. I like Otis Geoffrey so much. Without him, I'm afraid I won't survive. Henry's face turned white with anger. Hold on for 4 years. For the sake of a man. You said you don't lie anymore. Kathy Lou, you let me down too much. Henry, you haven't loved. You won't understand. How do you know I haven't loved? Henry yelled at me. I looked at Henry in amazement. He seemed more excited than I was. He was a doctor, always gentle and patient, and for the first time I saw Henry lose control. I was already too busy to care about his emotions, and I didn't care who he loved. Henry couldn't persuade me and change my medication. It's better to break up and go abroad to continue treatment. As we were leaving, Henry advised me. I ignored him. With the medicine in hand, I came out of the hospital and ran into Madge Funk. She works as a nurse in this hospital. I'm not going to deal with Madge Funk. Madge Funk stopped me. Kathy Lou, are you with Otis Geoffrey? That's right. I laugh. The fact that I was with Otis Geoffrey, the class reunion that day, was announced to the public. Everyone was surprised, but not surprised. Madge Funk was full of anger. Kathy Lou, you are so shameless. You know that his dad needs life-saving money, and you use the money to force him to stay with you. It's despicable. So what? If you have the ability, lend him 700,000 yuan, and let him stay with you. I raised my chin. I got it in front of Madge Funk. She is the white moonlight of Otis Geoffrey. I don't like Madge Funk. Won't let her. In particular, she was worried about Otis Geoffrey, and I wouldn't make her feel better. Rosalind said that Madge Funk didn't have that much money, and wouldn't lend it to Otis Geoffrey if she had. Otis Geoffrey's father was hospitalized, and everyone pooled money for Otis Geoffrey, but Madge Funk didn't pay a penny. Her affection for Otis Geoffrey is very cheap. Kathy Lou, you're not going to be rewarded. Madge Funk gritted his teeth and wanted to strangle me, and I was in a good mood. When I saw Madge Funk trembling with anger, I came home from the hospital. Otis Geoffrey was actually at home. The fire brigade is very busy. He has no time to rest, and he works a lot of overtime. Why didn't you go to the unit? I asked him. Otis Geoffrey got up, walked over to me, looked at me for a while, and hesitated. The unit organization is building a team nearby. You can bring your family. Will you go? I didn't speak, and Otis Geoffrey said, you can have a barbecue and sing together at night. It's very lively and interesting. Do you want to go? He looked like he wanted me. I nodded hurriedly. I'll go. He offered to take me to meet his colleagues and friends, and of course I was willing to go. Every day with Otis Geoffrey is something I cherish very much. A shallow smile tugged at the corner of Otis Geoffrey's mouth. I'll help you pack your things. I'll stay there at night and come back tomorrow afternoon. Okay, then I'll go take a shower and change my clothes. I want to meet Otis Geoffrey's colleagues, and I have to dress up nicely so that I can't embarrass Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey packed his things. I finished my shower. Put on your makeup, change your clothes and come out. Otis Geoffrey holds a bottle of medicine in his hand. He asked me, Kathy Lou, what kind of medicine is this? Vitamins. My heart trembled, fearing that Otis Geoffrey would find out. So I pretended to be calm, and walked over and took the medicine, and stuffed it into the box. Otis Geoffrey didn't ask much. He knows that I love beauty, and usually takes a lot of beauty medicine. It's good that he doesn't talk much and doesn't ask much. I'm with Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey drove me to his office. The bus specially prepared by the unit has already had a lot of people waiting, many with their families. I didn't know them. They came one by one and called, sister-in-law. I wasn't married to Otis Geoffrey, and they called me, sister-in-law, which made me a little embarrassed. Otis Geoffrey said that they call all family members sisters-in-law, and it doesn't matter if they get married or not. He was the captain of the team, and he arranged everyone before pulling me into the car. Tired? I'm not tired. I shook my head. On the bus, Otis Geoffrey sat next to me, handed me water and helped me block the sun, took good care of me along the way. When we arrived at the hotel, we gathered to visit the sights. Otis Geoffrey held my hand the whole time and didn't let go. A sister-in-law secretly told me, Otis Geoffrey doesn't talk much. Otis Geoffrey likes you so much. There are many little girls who like him. We have never seen him care about anyone, but for you. He is very patient and gentle. I believe my sister-in-law's words. When Otis Geoffrey was in school, he was very popular with little girls. Not only our school, but also many other schools like him. He kept a calm face and didn't even say anything to others. My sister-in-law said that Otis Geoffrey liked me very much. Her words made me inexplicably happy. In the evening, everyone organized a barbecue. There were a lot of people. They got together. It was very lively. I leaned on Otis Geoffrey, listened to them sing. They chatted. With Otis Geoffrey, do everything. Someone shouted at me, sister-in-law, sing us a song. Don't mess with her. Otis Geoffrey frowned. The crowd laughed, and Otis Geoffrey was afraid that I would not feel comfortable, and told me not to pay attention to their words. I squeezed Otis Geoffrey's hand, took the microphone, and sang. I'm more affectionate than you think. I shouldn't be slow to be silent, pretend to be indifferent and laugh it off. This is my most affectionate indifference. I'm obsessed with you. I can't tell. I sang pretty well, and there was a lot of commotion around. The vibe was up, and I put my arm around Otis Geoffrey and smiled. Even Otis Geoffrey was infected, put his arm around me, and kissed me on the forehead. Otis Geoffrey was poured a lot of wine. Everyone shouted at him, Otis Geoffrey, I wish you and your sister-in-law 100 years of happiness. I saw that he was in a good mood, so I did not persuade him, but let him drink. Halfway through drinking, Rosalind called me to tell me that there was a big client whose plan needed to be modified and was in a hurry. It was so loud that I leaned into Otis Geoffrey's ear and said, I'm going back to my room to get some work. I'll send you back. Otis Geoffrey hurriedly said. I shook my head. A few minutes away. I'll go by myself. You have fun. It's rare for them to get together for a team building, and Otis Geoffrey is the captain, and in his absence, it's not a good fit. Otis Geoffrey looked at me and nodded. I got up and left, walked towards the hotel. I walked for a long time. I couldn't find my way back, and I panicked. I remembered the way to the hotel, but I couldn't find the direction, and I knew I was sick again. Memory loss, the most obvious feature. I looked at the people coming and going in front of me, and my mind was confused. Should have asked Otis Geoffrey to send me back. I couldn't find my way, so I didn't know where to go. So I found a place to sit down. The only sanity left me called Otis Geoffrey, and my voice was full of grievances. Otis Geoffrey, I can't go back. You come to me. Don't worry. Where are you? I don't know. I cried. Otis Geoffrey panicked. Don't move. Wait for me there. I'll come over soon. Don't run around. I obediently sat there and waited for him. Otis Geoffrey was amazing. He found me without knowing the location at all. Kathy Lou. I was sitting on the side of the road when Otis Geoffrey found me. When I saw Otis Geoffrey, I rushed towards Otis Geoffrey with red eyes. Otis Geoffrey, I can't find my way. It's okay. It's okay. I'm here. Don't be afraid. Otis Geoffrey comforted me. Otis Geoffrey took me back by taxi. He was drunk and couldn't drive. Half an hour away from the hotel. I looked at Otis Geoffrey's phone. Did you locate it for me? He set up his phone and tracked it automatically. Well, when I came out, I was afraid that too many people would lose you, so I installed an automatic tracking for you, Otis Geoffrey hurriedly said. I nodded, looking nervously at Otis Geoffrey. I was afraid he would ask me. As soon as he asked, he would definitely know about my illness. Otis Geoffrey took me back to the hotel. Otis Geoffrey. I wanted to explain to Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey tapped me on the forehead. It's easy to get lost at night. Don't let me send you back. Next time I can't let you go alone. I was wrong. Otis Geoffrey pulled me to the shower and gave me a blow in my hair. I let him toss and turn with me. Suddenly, I reached out and grabbed Otis Geoffrey's hand, and my heart was beating fast. Otis Geoffrey, do you like me? Otis Geoffrey was slightly stunned and nodded. I like it. Then don't you break up with me. Okay. Don't leave me, I said to Otis Geoffrey in a hoarse voice. I don't want to break up with Otis Geoffrey. I don't want him to leave me. No one knows. Otis Geoffrey is in my bones. Otis Geoffrey held my face. As long as you don't break up with me and don't leave, I won't break up with you. For the first time, he took the initiative to lower his head and kiss me. There was a faint smell of alcohol in the air. I don't like the smell of alcohol, because it's Otis Geoffrey's, and I don't hate it. A day and a night of journey with Otis Geoffrey. I had a great time. He really affected my mood very easily. Otis Geoffrey said that if we don't break up, my illness has unexpectedly improved. The mood has improved a lot. Even Rosalind found out. It's been looking good lately. And sure enough, the power of love is great. Does my diamond ring look good? Me and Rosalind show off. Rosalind took a look. Beautiful. So good. Our Otis Geoffrey bought it, and he said that he would give me a bigger one when he paid the bonus. You abuse the dog. Don't take you to play like this? No one hurts to bully me. Rosalind glared at me. I laughed happily, looking at the diamond ring in my hand. The more I look at it, the more I like it. My illness has improved a lot, and I have reduced the dosage of the medicine a bit. Otis Geoffrey's father's birthday. Otis Geoffrey said he went over for dinner in the evening, and asked me if I was going. I thought about it, and out of politeness, I should have brought a gift with me. Elder birthday. I'm Otis Geoffrey's girlfriend. It's rude not to go. The old house of the Otis Geoffrey family was sold. I bought it back for them, and Otis Geoffrey's dad was discharged from the hospital and moved back there. Otis Geoffrey was busy. His dad needed someone to take care of, and I helped him get a babysitter. He was grateful and said to me, Kathy Lou, thank you for everything you've done for me. It's nothing. You protect the motherland. I protect you. I laughed and said to Otis Geoffrey, the country has cultivated him so well. Of course I can't let him have worries. I pulled Rosalind and bought a watch for Otis Geoffrey's dad, and some shoes and clothes. Otis Geoffrey is a man who doesn't care about those. I took the gift and just got to the yard. Otis Geoffrey and his dad were arguing in the house. Otis Geoffrey, you know about her illness? Otis Geoffrey's dad asked. Otis Geoffrey muffled, yes. Know why you didn't break up with her? Why should I break up with her? Otis Geoffrey, Madge Funk said that she has bipolar affective disorder, which is the most difficult mental illness to treat, and she has to take a lot of medication every day to control it, and she can't have children in the future, and she can't live a normal life. You are with her. What is the good result? Your life is over. You break up with her. Dad, you have to be a conscience. She gave you the money for your surgery. You are being taken care of so well now. She arranged it. She bought the house back, and the nanny was hired by her. Is it too much for you to let me break up with her? Otis Geoffrey, it's not that Dad is ruthless. She's a good girl. You can sympathize with her. You can't put your whole life into it. We will find a way to pay her back. Money. I stood in the doorway, and I couldn't listen to the rest of the words. My mind went blank, and my heart hurt like it was being crushed. I always thought I was hiding it well. It turned out that Otis Geoffrey had known about my illness for a long time, and he was with me, but he sympathized with me. It's ridiculous. I thought he liked me, and accepted me little by little. The thing in his hand slipped to the ground. Otis Geoffrey came out with a pale face when he heard the commotion. Kathy Lou, don't come here, I shouted at Otis Geoffrey. With that, I drove away. He sympathizes with me. He takes pity on me, and everyone can pity me. Otis Geoffrey can't. I didn't go back to the apartment where I stayed with Otis Geoffrey, and went straight home, ignoring anyone. I locked myself in my room. I don't know what other people are like, and for patients like me, Otis Geoffrey is my only faith. At this moment, my faith collapsed. The pain in my heart poured in, and I slammed my head on the cabinet next to me, not feeling the pain. Outside, my parents and my brother kept knocking on the door. Kathy Lou, open the door. What's wrong? Tell Mom and Dad. Kathy Lou, there's my brother here. Open the door. Tell my brother. Don't do this. I curled up as if I couldn't hear it. At this moment, the little man in my body popped out again, and it told me, get free. Don't drag others down. Don't let yourself be miserable. I heard Rosalind shouting, Kathy Lou, Otis Geoffrey is here. You open the door. Let's go in. You look at Otis Geoffrey. My mom asked Otis Geoffrey, what happened to Kathy Lou? She was fine before. Why is she suddenly like this again? Otis Geoffrey told my mom what was going on. My mom broke down and cried. Otis Geoffrey, your dad is not a thing. How can you say that? The money for your father's surgery was paid by Kathy Lou, who used all imported medicines in order to condition your father's body, bought a house for your family, and found a nanny for you. She likes you. What to do? We won't stop you. Your family dislikes her. At least say it well. You can't trample on her self-esteem so much. Even if she is sick, she is still worthy of you. Otis Geoffrey didn't speak, letting my mom scold. My mom was going to kick Otis Geoffrey out, and my brother stopped her. Mom, you let Otis Geoffrey in. No one can help Kathy Lou but him. The door was kicked open by Otis Geoffrey. He walked in and looked at me cowering in the corner. I didn't look at him. I listened to his footsteps getting closer. Otis Geoffrey sat next to me. I broke up with you. Don't come to me again. I endured the pain in my heart, and said to Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey didn't move, but looked at me quietly. I'm not breaking up. Otis Geoffrey, don't pity me. Pity me. I don't want to be with you. You go. I excitedly shouted at Otis Geoffrey. Actually, I wanted to break up with him peacefully, but I couldn't control myself. I thought that he was with me, because I took pity on me, and I felt pain and discomfort. Kathy Lou, I don't pity you. I love you. Otis Geoffrey's eyes were red. I've loved you for 4 years. Don't you really feel it? I knew about your illness very early. The first month we were together, your brother told me, let me choose carefully. You can't afford the stimulation. I said I love you, and want to be with you, no matter what you become. Otis Geoffrey's words shocked me to sit there. No wonder last time, I tied up Otis Geoffrey, and he didn't ask me from beginning to end. He knew about my illness so early. He loved me for 4 years, which I never knew. Otis Geoffrey's words worked, and I wasn't as excited as I used to be. Kathy Lou, it's not that you can't live without me, it's that I can't live without you. Otis Geoffrey reached out and took me into his arms. I'm sorry. My dad said something unpleasant. I apologize to you on his behalf. You don't care about him. I won't break up with you. His coaxing of my words calmed my emotions a lot. Seeing that I was no longer noisy, Otis Geoffrey reached out and pinched my face. Let's go home, shall we? Okay. He said he liked me, and I was desperate to go with him. Otis Geoffrey wanted to take me back, but my mom wouldn't let me. What are you going to do? You go with him, and his dad doesn't agree with you being together. What are you doing in a hurry? My mom loves me and has a big opinion of what Otis Geoffrey's dad does. Otis Geoffrey pursed his lips. Auntie, I'm sorry, but I didn't do well enough. He was sincere and upright. It's not his fault, and my mother doesn't want to complain about him, so she still won't let him go. Otis Geoffrey didn't get too tough and waited next to me. The meaning is obvious. When my mom agrees with him to take me away, when he goes, chase him, and he will not move. I want to go back with Otis Geoffrey. I really like him. There's nothing wrong with him. My brother saw my thoughts, and persuaded my mother to let him go. Okay, I can release her. Otis Geoffrey, you have to make it clear to me today. Will you be responsible for her? Be good to her. Her illness, you should know very well. You can't have children in the future. My mom asked Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey nodded, clearly. I respect her meaning. We can't have children. We don't want children. If she likes children, we can go through the process of adoption. Your dad doesn't agree. What are you going to say? My mom asked again. If he can agree, he agrees. He can't agree. He can't control me. I'll marry Kathy Lou. She wants to marry me. No one can stop me. Otis Geoffrey was serious. You can't either. My mom was speechless by Otis Geoffrey. Stared at Otis Geoffrey for a long time. Sighed. He was too sincere. Too serious. She couldn't fault Otis Geoffrey. My brother patted Otis Geoffrey on the shoulder. Okay, I read you right. Be with Kathy Lou. My mom let me go, and Otis Geoffrey took me back to the apartment. Since Otis Geoffrey found out about my condition, I have become much more relaxed. Don't worry about him leaving me. He calls me to take my medicine on time and urges me to exercise. Take me out for some fresh air, when you're free. When I was sick, he stayed by my side, painful and manic, and he never left an inch, putting away all the sharp weapons in the house. When I had a follow-up checkup, my condition was getting better than ever. Otis Geoffrey proposed to me. At my mom's wedding, Otis Geoffrey's dad stopping me, apologized to me, told me that he didn't think right at the time, and hoped that I would forgive him. Forgiveness can't be talked about. I don't have that much kindness. He's Otis Geoffrey's dad, and I don't hate him at best. Otis Geoffrey knew I was uncomfortable, and tried not to let us meet. Madge Funk comes running to find Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey, she's sick. You're still with her. She's mentally ill. Madge Funk, I think you should see a doctor. You think you're proud of ruining people all the time, and running to my dad and talking nonsense. I hope you don't show up in front of my family in the future. Otis Geoffrey said to Madge Funk. Madge Funk didn't expect Otis Geoffrey to say that about her. Leave crying. I asked Otis Geoffrey. You are so cruel to your white moonlight. Don't you feel sorry for her? Otis Geoffrey bit my ear. What white moonshine? My white moonshine is only one. Her name is Kathy Lou. I've never liked Madge Funk. Liar. How can I be your white moonlight? I don't believe Otis Geoffrey's words. Otis Geoffrey smiled. Kathy Lou, the moment you pounced, my heart wouldn't have beaten. His words touched my heart. Otis Geoffrey took marriage leave. We're going to have a wedding. The day before my wedding, I invited everyone to dinner and Henry got drunk. He said to me, Kathy Lou, I shouldn't have waited. I'm going to wait until the end. I should have won you sooner. My brother said that Henry liked me very much because of my illness, and had endured it. I didn't expect that, when I returned to China, I would like someone else and marry someone else. I told Henry, you can't wait for me. Otis Geoffrey was my whole youth, and he will be him for years to come. I have loved someone for so many years, and I can't fit someone else in my heart. The wedding came as scheduled. There were a lot of classmates and colleagues from Otis Geoffrey. I thought Rosalind would lead the girls to block the door, and make things difficult for Otis Geoffrey. As a result, the group of brothers brought by Otis Geoffrey are also shrewd. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever lets us in can get our contact information. I want it all. Rosalind was the first to mutiny. A bunch of girls can withstand a bunch of hormones. One by one, all mutinied. Otis Geoffrey took me away without incident, and the wedding room was arranged by my dad very early, next to my house. Previously, Otis Geoffrey said that he wanted to take out a loan to buy a house. My dad told Otis Geoffrey, "There's no need. There's not much else in the house, but the most houses. You love her and serve the country." Our relatives in my family all respect Otis Geoffrey and respect Otis Geoffrey's profession. After we got married, Otis Geoffrey went along with me. I'm much better than before. The results of the review were very good. Henry is still my primary doctor. Henry looked at the checklist and smiled bitterly. He's really good to you. The condition is well controlled. You can try to stop taking the medicine for a while. Okay. I happily went back from the hospital. When Otis Geoffrey was busy, I went to my mother's house to wait for Otis Geoffrey to pick me up. My mom and I complained that Otis Geoffrey was too busy. My mom knocked me on the head. He's doing a big thing. Of course he's busy. Without them guarding him, you can complain about him here. Be content. Got it. You're almost his mother. I pouted. Otis Geoffrey took me home, and I told him what my mom was saying to him. He was afraid that I would be unhappy, so Otis Geoffrey hurriedly hugged me. Our mother is good to me because of you, and she loves you the most, Otis Geoffrey. The doctor said I could stop taking the medication. I told Otis Geoffrey. Otis Geoffrey put his arm around me, his eyes red. He didn't speak, and I knew that he was worse than anyone else during my illness. Kathy Lou, you have to be good. You have to be good. I can't live without you, he said. The end.